Welcome to Blue Monday from the Blue Room with me, Les, and Dave. A crazy couple of weeks continued as the Toffees put in their most complete performance of the season to comfortably see off Nottingham Forest and briefly move up to 5th in the table. We now sit 1 point behind Chelsea, who we play on Saturday. Win that and we could go 4th and within 3 points of 3rd. It's just a bit mad at the minute, isn't it? And we've got Arsenal to play. We keep touch with Arsenal. We can go within 6 points of them if we beat them. But we'll touch upon all that a bit later. We're going to look back at Forest, ahead to Chelsea, and we're going to touch on the sad news that the Winslow will be closing its doors after 140 odd years of serving fans at Goodison, which it felt a little bit inevitable, but still very sad news, and it's come pretty quickly after we've moved away from Goodison there. But before all that, a reminder that Blue Monday brought to you in conjunction with the Invisible Wind Factory, first big venue you get to as you walk to the ground from town, on the corner of Regent Street and Regent Road. No home games for the next couple of weeks, but plenty on at the Wind Factory, including R&B Mania. You'll love this, Dave. An indoor R&B festival with 6 hours of tunes from the 90s and 2000s. Kicks off at 3 and ends at 9, which means old gets like us can get the last train home and be in bed by 10. So, sounds a winner, that. For details on that, go to invisiblewindfactory.co.uk. Do you reckon you're up for that, Dave?
Oh, mate, that's smack in the middle of my favourite music round then, finishing school and getting into college and all that. I love a bit of that. When you could get the original iPad, the iPhone, not the iPhone, what was it? iPod. Yeah, they don't even exist anymore, do they? And you've got a nano iPod for my birthday. Spot on, mate. Yeah.
Oh, they were boss, those nanos, weren't they?
Do you know what? They were great because you could scroll. It was the first thing. You didn't have to push anything. It had like a scratch pad thing. You could scroll everything. Those are the things. I'd have one of them now, to be honest with you. I wonder where you can get them, surely, can't you?
Yeah, you still be able to get them. I don't know whether they'd how long they'd last. It's getting a charge before them and the battery, isn't it? If the battery goes. Just back on the Wind Factory, we're back there for our usual pre-match gig on Saturday. I decided to call that, by the way, what's the score at the Windy? And I want to try and get sort of more audience interaction, sort of people giving us their score predictions. I was joined by Paul from Falcon Blues and John Wharton. We got some scores from our group chat and everyone predicted an Everton win. So after that Bournemouth game, it clearly buoyed everyone. And loads predicted the goal for Tierno Barry, which came true. We'll be back before the Arsenal game as well, so come down if you're around that way before the game. Right, Dave, we'll just get straight into this now. What did you make of Saturday?
Probably the most collective 11-man performance, well, maybe 12 or 13 given the subs, that I've seen Everton play for quite some time. And I've been deliberating this, whether to think I'm going a little bit too far, a bit of hyperbole about it. But no, it wasn't. It was an excellent performance from everybody, and I do mean everybody who was involved. When you're talking about players that were less effective as others, you're talking about a 7 out of 10 instead of an 8 out of 10. You're not talking about players who particularly struggled with anything at all. Everton played within themselves. They played a style of football that I think David Moyes probably aimed for them to do. I liked the style of what we were doing. I liked everything about the way in which the team was starting to penetrate themselves forward. Just an all-round top-class performance, that. And the kind of thing I think you want to sort of stick your hat on for the rest of the season if we're able to go and do that. That's the way Everton should play. That's the way Everton should be. Creating chances, not being so predictable and getting the balls out. For instance, I said to you, didn't I? I don't think Ndiaye's had anywhere near the amount of. I know he set up the Barry goal, didn't he? But other than that, I just thought he was absent, not in a bad way, but it's because we were doing other things, and it wasn't just give the ball to him. I know it was a lot of the typical give it to Grealish, but even in that regard, it wasn't as predictable as it has been. So I didn't see this coming. I know we got that win at Bournemouth, but that was a scrap, wasn't it? Let's be honest, it wasn't a great game to watch. Scored a fluky goal. But they're the kind of things with those tight games, those tight margins. You go and do that, and then that's when you take off. That's when a season can properly kick on. And these, I mean, they were non-existent, and I was delighted because I don't like him. Sean Dyche doing his usual dance, starting to throw his hands all over the place, and it actually looked like he was trying to do something off the Village people at one stage. But he was nothing. Forest were nothing. I know they had all sorts of issues there, but they've got a good team. They've got good players. you think Everton were playing a Championship side for how good they were?
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit annoyed before the game that Moyes changed that back four, because it's one of those, isn't it? If on the back of Newcastle, that horror show, and then going away to Bournemouth and keeping a clean sheet, it's one of them, like, don't change your winning team. But it worked. I thought James Garner was excellent in midfield after me giving him stick against Newcastle and saying he's never a midfielder. I thought he was great in midfield, and I think I said this on post-match, I think having Dewsbury Hall next to him as opposed to Tim Irabunum, you know, if you look at Irabunum and Garner, they're two very young midfielders, really. Garner's 24, Irabunum's 22, 23. Too young, and in Irabunum's case, quite inexperienced still midfielders. I think having Dewsbury Hall next to him, they just looked like a much, much better pairing, didn't they? Yeah, and I think the defence, you know, they handled whatever little Forest had to throw at them, which, you know, Jesus he's been good for them this season. He got his first league goal, I think, the other week. He's been scoring regularly in Europe. He's looked good. And if you look at their midfield, like, you know, they're no slouches. They got Sangar and Anderson, and then you got Gibbs White, who sort of pops between the number 10 and the midfield as well. So it wasn't like, you know, they were up against good players there, weren't they? And they were just never phased the whole game. They took complete control. Yeah,
they did, and I haven't seen the stat yet, but I'm going to presume that Everton had more possession, or certainly must have been quite close to it. They were equal amounts of possession in the game, which again hasn't been the conventional Everton style, has it?
Forest had most, 58 Forest, and we had 42.
Didn't feel that way.
Yeah,
it didn't feel like that all, did it? And I think it just goes in mind when you're creating chances when they're not. You automatically think that you've had more of the ball than they do, and it felt that Everton again. This thing that I'm thinking about was the theme that stuck with me was we retained the ball really well. There wasn't anything particularly 50-50 where, you know, you lose now to physical battle against them. It just felt we were strong. I felt like we looked like the fitter of the two sides as well, I have to say. No one's really gonna talk about that, but it felt like the aspects of that game were very much an Everton player would win a 50-50. An Everton player would be the one who penetrates forward, as opposed to Forest. If they did win the ball, it'd be square. It'd be something where they tried to retain it, as opposed to trying to really go forward and attack. And that was because of us. Everything good in that game was because of us, not because Forest was shite.
Yeah.
And I know people will confuse that with, I'd probably expect Everton to win that game against Forest, but you do need to watch it back and see why that happened. It wasn't because Forest was shit, it's because Everton were good.
Yeah, I think Forest didn't really trouble, did they? So they had 8 shots with 3 on target. I only remember one of them, to be honest. And Everton had 13 shots with 8 on target. The only Dave, I think Pickford fumbled one, didn't he, halfway through the second half, and Tarkowski made that really, really good goal line clearance. But the only save he really made was that one at the end of the first half, which, looking back, was pretty pivotal, wasn't it? I think they had their best attack. Pickford got down low, and he didn't just parry it out into the area, which would have put it to their players. He had the presence of mind to, like, knock it sort of out of the area, away from danger. And then from that, we went and attacked. Tieno Barry got his goal. The Forest players, if anyone's wondering why the Forest players were complaining after that and they haven't watched it back, it's because they reckon that the referee got a touch on it.
Yeah,
Sean Dyche said in the press conference afterwards as well, you could see that the referee got a touch on it. I don't think he did. It was a bit of an ambitious claim. I think the referee just moved out the way in time, thankfully, and the referee said he didn't. So,
what gets me about that is, with him touching the ball actually benefits Forest, because the pass forward to us, had it had any significance whatsoever, it would have only prevented Everton from moving forward as fast as they actually did.
Yeah.
I think he's just basically he's coming out with to say the referee should have stopped play because he touched it, which is the rule these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think the ref was brilliant. He stepped over it superbly.
Yeah, he did. It was a cracking step over.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah. And the thing is, it didn't distract the goal. It didn't distract the move.
No,
Everton penetrating forward there with 3-on-1,
3-on-1. It was, yeah.
And it was a great decision for Ndai to go the way in which he did. I think you're putting a lot of faith on Barry there, which it was a really good finish. He didn't think twice. He slotted it smoothly into the bottom corner, which, you know, we were all delighted about that, and his performance was really good. he's started to grow in confidence. You can see that right now as well. But nonetheless, it's still a bit of a risk choosing him out of the two that are going forwards, and then Dye's the one who plays it through to him. But yeah, it was a brilliant day for him.
Yeah,
and there was a lot of things we were looking at, Les, weren't we? Saying he's held the ball up superbly well. It's great when he got players closer to him, which that's not his fault when players aren't near him, but they were against Forest there. I think he's underestimated in terms of what he can do with the ball at his feet. There's a couple of times I've looked at him and thought, wow, I didn't know he could do that. So, maybe jumping the gun a little bit, but he started to find a bit, obviously not goals, that was his first one, but a level of play that is going to benefit us being able to get forward and him hold it up for others to come into the final third with him.
Yeah, there's definitely sort of something in just like sticking with a player and saying, right, this is the chance you've got now, take it. And I think every week he's been getting better and better, and that goal has been coming. Just on the build-up, though, I think Ndai was outstanding in that. He took it forward so quickly with the two attackers. Barry's run's really good as well, because he just about cuts in front of Ndai to split where the defence is going, well, where the defender can go. And then he's looking at Alcaraz the whole time in the move, and then just does a no-look pass to Barry, which completely throws the defender off and gives Barry, like, as you say, he's only got one option there. He can only pass it into the corner there, and he did it really well. It was a really well-worked goal, and then that settled everyone down then, wasn't it? It was like, Forest were never really in it that much, but I think that was it. Like, right, yeah, the game's ours. Some interesting comments from Moyes, actually, on Barry. He's basically saying it's difficult to train physicality, so I think that's one area of the game that he needs to sort of get rid of. When he gets hit, he will stay down on the floor, and it's quite frustrating to see. So Moyes said you can get the boys to kick them in training a bit more, which they have done. So he's getting volleyed all over the training pitch by the sound of it. He's been on the grass, he's fallen down a lot. We just play on in training and he doesn't get anything. At 6 foot, so he's just getting volleyed and just like play on in training. At 6 foot 4, yeah, this is a Moyes quote, yeah. At 6 foot 4, he's going to have to learn that he's going to be a victim of getting tackled and falling over. I still think he does it too much, and I'm on him to make sure he stays up. But he's been a problem for a lot of centre-halves because he's got physicality, aerial ability, and other parts of his game. He's getting used to it, but he's still not there yet. This is the key now. He'll not be able to play another 6 games and only score 1 goal, Moyes warned. Beto is beginning to show more, so Barry will need to keep playing well if he's going to stay in. So it's sort of like, I can see what Moyes is doing there. It's like, all right, you've got your goal, mate, you're playing well, but you've got to keep it up now. And if he doesn't keep scoring, it sounds like he's going to be out. Do you think that's the right way to play it from Moyes?
I mean, it's traditional man management, isn't it? To try and get your players up for fighting for their spot.
Yeah.
I feel that I mean, the conventional way of doing things, I think, you can't really go wrong, because what's it going to do? It's not going to have a negative spin by any means, is it? By saying to a player, you need to keep up the level that you showed us against Nottingham Forest and you'll keep your place. And then saying to Beto, keep your head down and you'll get your chance. The thing that goes against them both is they're never going to be playing together. They're never both going to be on the pitch at the same time, barring catastrophe, or the game's already gone, or you're ridiculous as far away as you possibly can be in a match with a goal advantage against the opposition. I feel as if what he's starting to do is possibly, and I'd like to think it's getting towards Beto in a way that will have a positive impact on him. I think what we've seen from Beto is he fights for his place. He was really good towards the back end of last season, scored a good number of goals there. So it's quite the prize that's up for grabs, I think, now for Barry. I mean, Moyes has done this far too late, and I think in many of our opinions that Barry, he's actually given a good run of starts when it did feel like they were maybe arguing against each other, the way, not in the literal sense, but the way in which they were given time on the pitch itself. And, sometimes it takes players a lot longer to start kicking on you. I think in the last few shows we've spoken about that. Players who've came have looked absolutely woeful. Players who've gone to other clubs have looked woeful and then ended up as one of the best. There's a lot. I mean, Thierry Henry. A lot of people spoke out about that. I remember he was absolutely woeful for the first dozen games.
Yeah, played on the wing, didn't he?
And he was just electric. We all know what happened with Thierry Henry, don't we?
Yeah.
Pires the same. Bergkamp the same as all Arsenal players, unfortunately.
You got Mateta at Palace as well.
Yeah, that's right.
So he was last, wasn't he? And then he scored. I mean, he still misses loads, to be fair to him, but he does score a lot now.
Exactly, and people have started to play for the strengths. I think that's another thing that goes unnoticed. Is that you've got to help the lad out. You know, you can't just stand there and say he's shite because he's not getting opportunities. He's putting himself in the right places. You look at that miss against Sunderland. I was absolutely fuming. I didn't want him to play for the club again, but he's persisted, to his credit. And you know, the only thing that got me was the physical, you know, nature that he came off the pitch with when he was subbed off. I'm fine with that if he's put a shift in. I'm fine with that if we're all looking saying, Moyes, why are you taking him off? But in terms of the Forest substitution, you watch matches where you think he deserves that. He's done everything in the game. Now it's sort of pointless him running into the ground. He needs that ovation. That's the way you do it as a manager, I think, to put on your second striker, which he did. And then by all, you know, when Beto came on, he didn't just jog about, did he? He was trying the first minute he came on, threw himself and then threw himself and a ball Forest were trying to play forward. That's what you want to see. I mean, we have quite a basic aspect of what we feel is what we want to see at the club, and that's exactly it. People grafting, and it's the old adage, isn't it? You know, Everton, you just got to play as much as you can, and Everton fans will applaud it.
Yeah, it does always come down to that, doesn't it? You know, if a player throws in like a crunching challenge or something, that defo gets us up off our feet. And you know, when there's those lulls in the game, you kind of need that, don't you? If you're not pouring forward at every opportunity, that kind of thing can just get the crowd back up on it. And I think it did that. Just back on Moyes then. He said he's now looking towards Europe now. So now we're up to 6 following Palace's late winner of Fulham. Moyes is talking about Europe. He's sort of being a bit cagey about it, but is that the right thing for him to be saying? I know we're all probably thinking it now, but it was like a week ago when we were like, and I know we're a bit bipolar like this, and like the Newcastle defeat was the worst thing in the world. Bournemouth win was the best thing ever. We can never find like a middle ground whereby, you know what, everything's just all right, which it is at the minute. It's actually getting like pretty good now, but I don't know, is talk of Europe from the manager a bit premature, or should we just like buy into it?
What you just said, spot on though, because it's a reflection of what the league's like at the moment. You know, should we not get a result against Chelsea? Everton can go back to mid-table. In fact, I was saying to you, wasn't I? Man United can go above us and they're in 13th place, and Everton right now. It is crazy, but I reiterate that it's there for the taking. And I sort of think that, Moyes has got a bit ahead of himself, given the fact he was saying the complete opposite, that Everton would be looking over the shoulder last week after the defeat to Newcastle, and he was saying that we're nowhere near Newcastle level. We're above them. And, you know, Newcastle have started to get themselves sorted out too. But we have, by all accounts, haven't we? What's that, 3 wins in the last 4 games?
Yeah.
The fact that it was the stinker and the worst defeat of them all. You'd prefer to be, the United game's obviously head and shoulders above the rest in terms of what you prefer to win. Losing to Newcastle is probably second in that list, and we were battered by them as well. But I also think if you're taking positives away from that, is how quick Everton shifted things around.
Yeah,
how quickly we're able to turn this thing around. It's a classic David Moyes, because it happens so often in his time with us when Everton are at their weakest point in terms of players, a squad you look at, you're thinking, who's that kid come from? Have they just signed in when they seen him walking up the road? You see substitutes in the squad like that, and you think Everton have got no chance of winning this game. Yet that's when everybody ups their game and Everton go on and win them. It's infuriating, because when Everton have their best players back, then you expect, like everyone does, your team to be at its best to go and win games of football.
That's a really good point, actually. I've not thought about that. It's like we said before, and like that he is at his best when he's got limited options, isn't he? Like you said. And it's like early part of the season when we had lots of options and he was still only making like 2 substitutes a game. When we were drawing against West Ham, we were drawing against Aston Villa, we were both terrible when they came to Everton. and he wasn't changing it to try and win the game. Now all of a sudden he's got no options, and he's only making those 2 subs a game. It's been to close games out, and it doesn't look as bad, does it? So when Dwight McNeil comes on to sort of see out a game, and when Beto comes on to see out a game, you're not tearing your hair out so much like you were at the start of the season when you're thinking, well, we've got so many options here, why isn't he using them? So it's a bit mad that he's definitely more comfortable when there's fewer options available. Dibblin did get on, and it was good to see, because I think we're going to have to see him more over the next month, which we'll go into when we talk about Chelsea. But yeah, it's strange, isn't it, that he doesn't seem to like too many options. If it's a smaller squad with just a couple of changes to make, he seems a lot happier.
Yeah, he does, and I think there's no coincidence when you look into what Grealish was saying to him after the Bournemouth game, and how much like he basically loves him, like almost like a father figure. He said I like working with him, all of this praise towards him, which, again, you wouldn't normally associate with David Moyes, not being this dour Scotsman who treats them like he's a head teacher. But you mentioned it, the one thing I wanted to talk about there is, the way he decided to put O'Brien back to right back. And we were sat there thinking, no, not again. That's long gone. You can't keep putting him back there. He was fantastic at right back. Mm-hmm. So the option is there. Moyes is confident enough to go and do it, which says a lot about what he's working with the players in training and all those situations. And Dwight McNeil there, I mean, it did make me start thinking about, well, automatically Dibbling will start getting his run of games when and dies away on the AFCON. I'm not too sure. Because he brought McNeil on first. He didn't put Dibbling on at all, did he, at Bournemouth?
No, he didn't.
Excuse me. And then Dwight McNeil came on. And look, I think I'm one of the most guilty of most Evertonians here in completely writing players off. In fact, I think many fans do. McNeil's looked quietly okay when he came on against Bournemouth, when he came on against Forest, albeit the when games were over.
Yeah.
But it looks like, I mean, we say, I mean, he's like, he operates in a snail's pace. But he's got a good left foot. Everything we praised him with in the past, he was still slow when we did it. So, it's a little bit of a contradiction to say, oh, he's too slow, he can't play, because he's still been in that situation that Everton fans have praised him, and he was a starter, an automatic starter under Dyson at his peak. So again, Moyes will be looking at that, and I do think he probably puts McNeil ahead of Dibbling, because that's traditional Moyes style. Yeah. I mean, we're sitting there now, if you're the manager, the first thing you do when you haven't gotten die is put Dibbling on. But, that it takes a while, and Moyes has never had the reputation of being really good with young players and getting them their opportunity as soon as you possibly can. So he also had faith in just throwing Michael Keane in, and I think that reflects the measure of how far he's come since he got that year contract. I suppose you're up for a conversation shortly about you to give him another year. If he carries on like that, then I think it's, there you go, sign it as quick as you possibly can, because he's been probably still, I'm saying he's definitely one of our best players so far this season. Maybe not the best player of our season, but he's been trustworthy, and it's in the sign that he was thrown straight back in when O'Brien had such a good performance at centre back at Bournemouth. So, there are places there available at the back, and we've spoken about how poor the squad is, not poor, how small the squad is. You're looking at that back line and thinking, when O'Brien is playing at a centre back. I mean, I've said for a while I want us to finish the season with O'Brien and Branthwaite as the central pair.
Yeah,
and have the others as squad players. I know it's not going to work like that, because I can't imagine Moyes doing that anytime soon. Just having those two as the natural centre back pair, another first choice centre back pair, and particularly if it gives right back an issue, doesn't it? Then again, I mean that's probably a long and deep debate for another time. And then you mentioned that midfield duo. Wants to touch on them as well. It was quite a shrewd system that Moyes went for there, and he didn't play it to his traditional bog standard predictable style there in what he did, because again Garner's put in that position. Garner is a conundrum now, because he's good, he's a really good right back, he hasn't let us down as a right back. Yet now I think he's the next step for him has been he needs to prove himself as a central midfield player. I don't think he's going to start there. If Moyes had everyone available, he wouldn't be starting there, let's be honest, in that midfield role. So he's looking into this thinking, well, now's my opportunity to do this with Garner away. Roll looks like he's injured. He's going to be injured for quite some time. Irabunam's not looked fantastic, even though he was really good in the second half against Bournemouth. There is that position there up for grabs, and that's what's given me the most encouragement here. And what we're seeing is players are having a scrap for their role, for where they want to play, and for where they want to start. And it's a traditional thing all this time, isn't it? If you got to fight for your place, then they're going to be at the very best.
Yeah, and we've seen in the past, haven't we, when players at Everton get a bit too comfortable and there's no one to challenge them.
Yeah,
performance levels drop off. So you do need that. And like some Moyes' comments about Barry as well. He's saying you've got Beto breathing down your neck, so it always it keeps that impetus up for them, doesn't it? We'll touch
just
upon
the one
that.
thing, lads. Just the one thing before we move on. Just a quick word on Michalenko as well. Who, I mean, he rightfully so gets a lot of criticism because he's not been great, has he, since that the years of where he was scoring absolute whoppers against Leicester and getting Player of the Year and all that sort of thing. He was on a downward trajectory. He wasn't on an upward trajectory anyway, to say the least. But he was decent. Thought he kept them quiet coming down that side.
Yeah.
Again, probably looked at most sides as if he's the weak part of the Everton side. You're probably going to have to go up against there. You're getting across into a box and you're able to attack Everton in the most comfortable way you probably could, thinking that that's the weak link they've got. I thought he was good.
I'll tell you what was funny.
Yeah, exactly. I thought he was fine. And then when you see that, you're thinking it's so much more refreshing to think that full-back side isn't the first go-to, we need a new player, like we do in the right-back slot. Right-back, we've had to mix it around between Garner and O'Brien. Left-back, it's just being Michalenko, which is a burden in itself, really. Particularly playing for the side that has less possession than the others as well. So fair play to him. He's been okay lately, and I'm all for it because it takes another headache off Moyes' head and recruitment in January.
Him and Grealish just overhitting passes to each other at the weekend as well. They clearly hate each other, don't they? They don't like playing with each other, do they? It was like
it reminds me that like Grealish is doing the charity game and he's looking around him, we're going to pass it to, and he automatically gives it to Michalenko as a token gesture. There were a couple of times when he ran past them, but no, he doesn't do what a conventional fullback would do in terms of getting to the byline and chipping it in. He gets to the byline and then gives it back to Grealish.
I know. It's a weird trait he's got that he always seems to cut back inside, but it's like it's on your left foot, mate. Just get it in.
Yeah.
You've always done that.
Hey, listen, if they're the lesser things we're talking about, then you're in good shape.
Well, yeah, exactly. If we're not talking about him getting rinsed, it's all good. Right, lots of options ahead before the Chelsea game, so we'll pick up on that in a minute. But before we do, if you're looking for some Christmas clobber for yourself or for another toffee in your life, head over to forevereverton.co.uk. They've got t-shirts, hoodies and jumpers, including this festive one that I'm wearing if you're watching on YouTube, and loads more stuff as well. And Blue Roomers can get a massive 20% off with the code BlueRoom20. Go to forevereverton.co.uk, pick your gear, then put the code BlueRoom20 in at the checkout for 20% off. I can fully recommend checking out the gear as well, Dave. It's all dead good quality. Really good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I really like it. There's a few things I'm going to get for Christmas, actually. Like that one you've got there, proper
yeah. For anyone listening on the pod, it's an outline of the ground with Santa flying over past the blue moon.
It is. They do a lot of sort of retro stuff as well, which is great. I know you love all that sort of thing as well, don't you?
I've seen quite a lot of the gear about, so keep an eye out for it now at the game. And there's quite a lot of the gear knocking about. So yeah, get your 20% off.
Whoever designs it, by the way, is an absolute genius. Because it's just a fantastic, well put together.
Well, yeah, I was speaking to Rob, the guy at Forever Everton, and he was saying sort of instead of like being explicitly Everton, it's sort of more. So I've got a hoodie there with St. Domingo on it, and he's got like School of Science t-shirt. So it's all those little nods that you probably only really get if you're a toffee, which is like.
Yeah, I like that. You know what, I actually a lot. I mean, likes that. a lot of the time more than anything else, because it does sort of make you feel a little bit more. Nobody's going to get that. You're not going to get some dickhead cop-ite coming up to you saying, "Oh yeah, see the blue, blah blah." No, you have to know. You have to know what you have some sort of knowledge of what Everton is to understand why I'm wearing that. So yeah, I think it's really smart. So well worth looking at, because I am.
Yeah, 20% off as well. That's all right. Right, let's go on to Chelsea away. The last few weeks we've laid ghosts to rest at Old Trafford and Bournemouth. Moyes has got a real opportunity to do a very, very un-David Moyes thing here and go and beat Chelsea away and make it a hat-trick. I was just looking at that. So we've not won there since November 26, 1994, when Paul Rideout scored a header from an absolutely sublime Anders Limpar cross. If you're not familiar with that goal, go and check it out on YouTube, because the cross from Limpar is outstanding. And it's a lovely header from Rideout. But looking at the form this season, Chelsea haven't won in the last 3. They picked up 2 draws and 1 defeat. Everton are up to 4th in the form table, keeping company with City, Villa and Palace. So looking at that, I know Chelsea's form's probably got to turn around at some point. This feels like a good time to go and play them, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think Chelsea is such an unpredictable side. I know this season he starts to put things together. I was looking at them thinking, do you know what? They probably have a little bit of a go at the title there. I do like Maresca as a manager. I have a lot of sympathy with him, because I think they've signed players that he probably didn't even have anything to do with or even know about, given the way they operate when they sign players. Also, they've not had Cole Palmer. I think he's still injured as well for quite some time in and around the new year. So that's a help for us, because I mean he's tortured a lot of different sides, hasn't he? And our player to stop, because he's generally pops all over the place, and you've got one of our players stepping all over the place to try and catch him. You just refer him back there to when we last won. I mean, the amount of times we've gone there and should have won.
Yeah.
Remember the one when we were 2-0 up, and then we got it back to 2-2. Funes Mori scored, and then John Terry, it comes off his arse or something like that, and they end up getting
the most offside goal in the world.
Yeah,
he's got 3 yards offside.
Yeah, I mean, if there was ever need for VAR, it was then. And yeah, I mean, I always one of the most torturous game that I've ever experienced was in that League Cup. But anyway, I digress. You know, when
the worst one I've seen was Chelsea 6-0 away.
Well, oh yeah. It was when 6'4" Tim fucking Howard gets out jumped by Sean Wright Phillips, who's about 3 foot tall, and they equalise. We go away 1-1 draw. And you know what happens when we got back to Goodison? Didn't have a shot on target in the second leg, but that's neither here nor there. I feel like you go in there with confidence. I feel like you go in there when Moyes just looked at this team and thought, you know what, there's a bit of a blueprint what you can go and do there at Old Trafford. And I still think that's going to be so underrated that it won't even be spoken about as much as it really should be, even if you spent an entire night having a drink speaking about how good it was to take away 3 points from there. I don't care what situation they're in.
Yeah.
I mean, given what the league's like at the moment, like I said, they can win and go above us. So, you know, it covers a manner of sins, doesn't it, in many ways. But to go there against 10 men from so early on, to go and win that game, that's against any side in that league, probably including Wolves. Anyone who looks at that thinks you're down to 10. The opposition, we got down to 10 men, and it was still 0-0. By the way, we hadn't scored by then.
Yeah,
still 0-0.
Yeah, exactly.
A remarkable effort, but that in itself, Les, that should put something there. You look at Bournemouth that we've gone and done. You look at the games we played that we probably shouldn't have won. We're in one of those funny seasons, aren't we? Where you're thinking, do you know what, we should win this, but we end up losing. It's finding a level of consistency, which we generally have apart, putting Newcastle aside. Chelsea, a funny one. Got players that I've never heard of at times. At other times, you're looking at them thinking, do you know what, there's a world-class player there. They've got Neto, who's generally plays off the right, and he's going to give Mikalenko. I know I was praising Mikalenko, but he might be in for a tough night. A tough game with that one. But nevertheless, he's funny like that, isn't he? I know, obviously, the fella in the news there, Salah. He's always had Salah in his ass pocket. So he does something similar to that against one of their best players this season.
Yeah.
you don't quite know what you're getting with them. So there's no reason why we can't go there, given how we've played, given how we've set up, given the system that Moyes has put together, and seriously trouble them. You come away from there with 3 points. I think Everton could go and do that.
Yeah, it's one of those games though now, isn't it, where Moyes does have more options. So Garner can play again after the suspension, and Dye and Garner, it's their last game before they go to AFCON, which means we could see back to the usual setup for one game with Garner in the midfield and Dewsbury Hall further forward. I don't know if I'd do that, to be honest. I don't know if I'd keep Garner on the bench and keep that midfield as it is. Like I said before about changing a winning team from Bournemouth, and he did that. I don't think I'd want to go and change a winning team again, unless he's gonna go back to that back four that played at Bournemouth. But then why would you, when we just got the clean sheet at Forest? I don't think I'd change it, but I've got a feeling that he will put Garner back in and revert back to that sort of formation we're playing at the start of the season. What would you do?
I agree. I think he'll do that, to my annoyance, because I don't think anybody did. I'd go with that same 11 that we started with, because I think everybody deserves it. I think you mentioned at the start how nobody's at fault whatsoever in that match. You give you 8, 9, and 10. You wouldn't be giving anybody 5s and 6s in that match. So with that in mind, I don't think it needs changing. Why change it? It's a pointless exercise to change it. I expect him to do so because there is a reliance upon Idrissa Gueye. Probably. I mean, I think the clever thing to do, the savvy thing to do, would be to start the same side that we did against Forest, because we're going to have to do that anyway with Gueye and Dye going.
Yeah,
obviously, and Dye is a different issue because he has played, but with Gueye and him going, you're going to have to change things up anyway. So I wouldn't put Gueye straight back in. And I like that midfield duo you're speaking about with Garner and Dewsbury Hall. I mean, Dewsbury Hall is now become the glue that keeps all this together, hasn't he?
He's been outstanding.
He's been outstanding, and I just think in that positional sense, I sort of look and I think, is that Moyes that's enthused, as a that sort of enthusiastic nature of saying to him, look, you've got an intelligence there between your ears. You go on and conduct the game the way in which you think you should. Or is he saying to him, I want you to do this, you've got freedom here, you've got freedom there? I think it's the former. I think that he's that good of a player that is simply just, he went his wrong way. I mean, Chelsea, he'll be up against Chelsea as well, won't he? Give him
his old club. So.
And I think he epitomises what shit show goes on there in terms of a really good quality young player they've signed who's never going to get a chance, but give them big. And he's made the mistake out of that, and now he's come to us, and he seems to adore Everton. All over it. I know it's the easy thing to do as a football player when you go to a club. Is like, I'll sign a few autographs, but he seems to really found a home in Everton. So,
I think you can see why as well. After like you say, after he moved to Chelsea at a young age, and then I think he played 90 games over a few years for them, didn't he? So it wasn't nearly enough as what he would have wanted to have played. He's come to Everton and he's integral to the team now, and I do think you're right. I do think he's better further back. I think he's wasted in the 10 because he doesn't see. He's a player who can see the game open up ahead of him and can do stuff from further back.
Yeah,
and carry it up the field quickly. I didn't really touch upon this when we talked about Forest, but his contribution in that game, obviously, he should get the assist for the first goal, which I don't think he's been given, but he should do because it was a really horrible cross into the box that they nodded in. And then the second goal, and such a good finish with his right foot. When I was watching that back, by the way, I didn't realise how good a role Tarkowski played in that. I don't know if you noticed. O'Brien gave it the little knockback, and Tarkowski just runs in front of their defender just to open up the space so he can't get closed down. But it was a great finish, and he's been, I think Matt said last week, he's been brilliant since we saw. I think you might have said that actually. Since we sort of said, I'm not sure about this guy, he's looked a bit ropey. He's been outstanding since Sunderland, probably. He's really, really come on loads. And I do think playing him deeper has helped with that. So I'd want to keep that midfield partnership because you look at, if we are going to go with Garner in midfield, him and Dewsbury Hall looks like a decent partnership on current evidence. It
does. And the other side of that, Les, the other side of that coin is, if you're not keeping James Garner in midfield there, then you're reverting him back to right back, which means that O'Brien wouldn't be playing when O'Brien was really good against Forest. So
Yeah.
we've got a really positive debate about all this, and I think the kind of thing Moyes is going in, he's having much more of a dilemma than I think he'll have ever had since he's been back at the club, and in a really positive way, because you're talking about lads who've done well. You're not talking about who would be better in either a physical or literal sense of where they've played and the position they're in throughout their career. You're going in and looking and thinking, look at the way he played against Forest there. Look how good he was away at Man United. And thinking, do you know what? They've earned their place. I'm going to keep them there. I think he needs to go with a set of balls against these. And look, we did it. We did it at United, even when you go down to 10 minutes. It's ironic, isn't it, that it took something like that for Moyes to actually step forward and went for it. And he did, and he got, lo and behold, he got it. Not in the conventional way, but he went and got the 3 points there at a place that's terrorised us for many years. Chelsea's another one of those. He's showed it, he's proved it. Do you change the formula? I wouldn't. No. You're expecting Everton to go there and win? No, I'm not expecting them to go there and win. Could we win? Yeah. Is it going to be astonishing if Everton go and win at Chelsea? Absolutely not. No, because I think they're in a similar boat to so many sides, which has made the league table look at the way it is in the inconsistency that's there. How many times I've looked at them and thought, you know what, they'll be Arsenal's main challengers there at the top, because City were cocking up a little bit. You look at it now, and we can go above them. It's intriguing. It really is intriguing. And after game, we're looking at that league table, thinking, do you know what, we should easily get into Europe. Do you know what, we should take mid-table. I'd take 12th right now, go and rebuild in the summer.
Yeah,
you take your chance while it's there, Les, and the chance is there, smack in the face, and Everton can roll into that, coming right up the rails there, because people will be looking at Everton, other fans of other clubs will be looking at Everton thinking, it's Everton, you've been shite for years. Yeah, so you'll fall away from this. This has happened before with Everton and Moyes. He's got to positions that most clubs don't imagine he will. And it's like, go back to what we initially started the show saying, that when he's in the underdog position, it's when he comes out fighting. It's when Everton show their teeth, is when you don't expect them to do so. I think Chelsea are probably looking at it thinking we should be beating Everton.
Yeah,
I think if you're a Chelsea fan or looking at Everton from the outside, from any other club, you're thinking, do you know what, they've got a substance right behind them this time. Mentioned players, Dewsbury, all and whatnot. We never even spoke about Alcaraz, who I thought was really consistent too. He played really well. He bounces all over the place. He runs all over the place, doesn't he? I think that's something that has gone unnoticed too, is how much running. I haven't seen the stats on that. How much running Everton players do in that midfield area. They're all over the place, and there's a difference. There's nuances from Moyes, and there's nuances that he's set up at Everton's that we haven't seen before. So I'm intrigued what we can go and do, Les. Would it be unexpected if Everton go and win there? Not as much as I've thought it would be if you go back 3 or 4 games.
I think we've got to go there with confidence. I mean, so if you look at the table now, like you said, it is really, really compacted. So we're on 24 points, 2 points off 4th, 6 points off 3rd. But then if you go down to Man United and 12th, they're on 22, so they need 2 points off us.
Yeah, United the 13th can go above us tonight, can't they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because they play tonight, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they are going to do that against Wolves.
Yeah, oh yeah, fair enough. I mean, the good thing is, though, it's like, I think all the stats are in the last few seasons, we've not hit this like 20-odd point mark till February. So we're well ahead of schedule there. And if you do look, if we want to look down at the relegation plays, we're 11 points clear of West Ham and 13, and we've got 13 points in 18th. So it's like, not even in the conversation anymore for me. Relegation.
Well, it is for Moyes, Les. That's a bugbear I've got with him, and maybe it's maybe it's something, a mentality thing that he's trying to throw in front of everybody else, just to indicate how good Everton are doing. Yeah. Because he's saying, he's still going out with looking over your shoulder, and the main thing is to get Everton safe, and then all of a sudden you go and win. Probably best performance of the season against Nottingham Forest. And then he starts talking about European positions. At least he's changed and gone straight into this in a more positive perspective. Yeah, because I get the impression he's sitting back home having a glass of wine or whatever, thinking, do you know what? I'm going to say something. I'm going to put it right out there that we can qualify for Europe. When
Get carried away with the rest of us. Just do it.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's it. And you look at the league table and he sat there and thought, I'm going to say it in the presser. I'm going to come out and say we can finish in 8th position. Dare I say it? And not look over our shoulder anymore, and perhaps say that we are and can be competing with Newcastle of all clubs.
Well, yeah. It's night and day from last week, isn't it?
I think it's really. I'm fascinated and think it's really funny what Moyes is like and what he's saying. I just think it's really, really funny.
Yeah, I think
it's working. Keep doing it.
Yeah, definitely. I read a stat the other day. I think it might have been yesterday. I think he's been on this many points at this stage in the season 4 other times, and I think we finished 4th, 5th, and 10th one season. Weirdly, so we must have really dropped off. But the signs are good there, aren't they? It's just
it's the games we got, Les. I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? I think we have said this before. It's when it's gone on as long as I can ever remember in the Premier League, where you're still looking, thinking, like I've just said there, probably the example of it is that Man United can go above us and they're in 13th place. I don't think I've seen it like this at this stage of a season before.
No, it's
so
not.
Let's be honest. To end it on probably a more sensible way is that it could quickly go the other way in that table, and we're really buoyant and talking about how well we've done, how well we've played, results we've got. I hate to say it, but it can flip the other way quite quickly.
Yeah.
And so this perhaps why it's sensible for Moyes to say what he has, and then he decided to jump in head first and say Everton are going to be in the Europa League.
I think
keep doing it. Keep saying mad things because it's a different Moyes, isn't it? I like a bit of that.
Yeah. I think one thing we all wanted from this season, we just didn't want any drama. We didn't want any relegation drama. And I think it looks like we're going to get that. We don't want to speak too soon.
What, 10 points from safety randomly?
Yeah, we're 11 points ahead of West Ham. We can't have a swing like that, surely, because it's not a bad side. Anyway, we'll do more build up to the Chelsea game as the week goes on. Just to finish, Dave, I just want to pick up on the sad news that the Winslow's closing.
Horrendous.
The manager reckons the pub will close toward the end of January 2026, although nothing's been confirmed at this stage. It was always the case, wasn't it? It felt like those businesses round the ground would suffer when we left Goodison. I know the women are there, but it's a very different match day experience going to the women's game. So I can't imagine there's the pull to the Winslow that there was when the men's team played there. I think some of the pubs in that on County Road probably will be okay because a lot of Reds drink on County Road before the game as well. None of them are going to be going to Winslow, to be honest. Let's face it, why would you? So yeah, it's just sad news, and I think it's been running for like 140 years or something. I read. So to close now, it is very sad, isn't it? But it did feel inevitable.
Yeah, it's something I think that was spoken of quite a bit and went under the radar for many people who were so excited about getting to the new ground is what you're leaving behind. And the first thing you talk about when you're leaving behind is automatically Goodison. But when you look where the pub is right now, it's a part of Goodison. It's 10 feet. Yeah. It's 10 feet away. It's always bouncing before, sometimes during, given the fact we've lost and everyone's in there 10 minutes later, and after games as well. It's a tradition around there, whether you went in it or not. You always went past it. There's always people you see. It was such a familiar feeling around there, and I think again it was spoken about quite a lot in terms of you've got to find a new way how you go about your match day process, how you go through your match day preparation. You start in the city, you walk down, you go to where we're on at the Wind Factory as well. You're still willing to find your way to get to games, and that was one that was smack in the middle of it. You couldn't avoid it, literally couldn't avoid it. So yeah, it's really sad. But one thing I would say is I'd implore Everton Football Club. In fact, I'll be telling or saying to Everton Football Club, you need to do something about this. I'm not talking about keeping the pub where it is, because quite clearly that's the issue, isn't it? Like you say, young families who are going to the ladies' game, it's not really that side of things where they're going to make what they need to stay where they are, which this is the pure example of that. But I think the club should be doing something towards somewhere that's been there as long as Goodison has, and the club have upped and moved to a brand new stadium that we're all enjoying and loving right now and finding it out to be our new home. If there's some way of moving it, some way of rebuilding it closer to the ground, wherever it is, because it deserves that. And it's not look like you say there. I think Derby, County Road and Derby Road, all the way down there in Walton, they're going to suffer regardless of still being there and getting the business they can. They're still going to suffer from what it was. Let's not forget that. But like you said, I mean, a few of them are talking about the away support against Liverpool, encouraging them to come there and have a drink before the game, all that sort of thing, and still Blues as well, going there and then walking down to the ground because it's not that far, which most will see it as it is, just given the location. So I hope there's a way, and we'll fully support what needs to be done if there's any way that it can be sorted out and something more positive can be put on board, rather than you walking by there and seeing the shutters down.
Yeah.
It'll be horrible seeing that.
Yeah, well, one thing they did put coaches onto the new ground, but it doesn't look like it's taken off like we thought. I think just from a heritage point of view, the club should do something with it, because I mean the last thing you want to see is that, I don't know, just turned into a bathroom shop or something, or do you know what I mean? It's just turned into some other repurposed shop. I think it needs to be kept as part of Everton's history. The club in keeping Goodison, they've still got a chance to do something with it themselves, I think.
Yeah, they need to think outside the box with it, rather than thinking, oh, do you know that pub outside Goodison? That need, sadly, like Goodison, like the new stadium, things have to change, but that doesn't mean they can't change in a positive way, and a way that can keep the conventional, traditional Everton way. And I hope that's the case, because if there's one club that can do this sort of thing in the way Everton are, the way Everton have always been, is our football club, to be able to move things on in a positive way that doesn't see anybody suffer from it.
Yeah.
Look, there'll be a lot of criticism anyway, and hard feelings towards a lot that goes on around the stadium. I mean, I think everybody will have an issue where it's hit them hard, and at the forefront will be this place. So I hope the club can do what they've been able to do really well, and support and help, and obviously build something positive, something where they can step into a place that continues what they've always been, which is part of the foundations at Goodison Park. Let's hope it gets sorted out, and we'll be supporting it thoroughly.
Yeah, just before we go, the Winslow tweeted, if you're on Twitter, or they probably put the same on Facebook as well, if you're on there, they're at the Winslow Hotel. We will be holding a big farewell party, most likely Saturday, January 24th. We already bid farewell to one old lady. Now it's time to say goodbye to a neighbour. All tickets are fair and demand will be huge. Tickets links will be online this week. So if you fancy going to, have we got on that day, on the 24th?
No, I'm not sure, but I'd also add to the fact that I think there'll be a few buckets going about there to raise whatever it is to support people. I mean, people who lose jobs and stuff like that, and revenue. We'll fully support anything that goes on there, and scream and shout it as best we can, because it's a place that's in all of our hearts, going around Goodison Road and heading towards Gladys Street or heading towards the park end. It's there. You always see it, like you do with a good few places that are outside the new stadium. Let's get the club to help them to put it there if that's something they'd like to do. Yeah,
there's loads popping up, isn't there? We were due to play Leeds on that day at home, but it's been moved to Monday. So there you go.
Well, I mean, there's a pure example there of what goes on with that fucked up, corrupt gang of bellends that decide to change all these things.
Yeah, Monday night games need getting in the bin. But yeah, for more details on the Winslow's big farewell party, just check out Twitter and I imagine Facebook as well. Right, Dave, that's it for this week. Nice one for that. We've got all the usual stuff coming up. Byline tomorrow, weekly, subs weekly, mailbag, Chelsea preview, then back to post-match for Chelsea. That's been it for this week's Blue Monday. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Up the Toffees.